The Nexus 7 space station was huge. It floated in empty space like a giant metal flower. The station had 7 arms that stretched out from the center. Each arm was 3 miles long. Bright lights covered the outside walls. Ships from different planets came and went like busy insects. Inside the station, the main meeting room was full of strange beings. Some looked like walking rocks with glowing eyes. Others were covered in hard shells like giant bugs. A few were made of floating gas that changed colors when they moved. All of them were here for one reason: to stop a war. The war had been going on for 2 years. The Vorthok Empire wanted more planets. They had big armies and loved to fight. The Kaleri Federation just wanted to keep their homes safe. They built strong walls around their worlds and hoped that Vorthok would leave them alone. But the Vorthok never left anyone alone. Commander Ravi was the biggest Vorthok in the room. He stood 8 feet tall and had 4 arms. His skin looked like black metal armor. Sharp teeth filled his mouth. When he walked, his heavy boots made the floor shake. Other aliens moved away when they saw him coming. Ravi did not like this meeting. He did not like talking when he could be fighting. War was simple. You won or you lost. Talking was for weak beings who were afraid to fight. "We are wasting time," Ravi said to his aide. His voice sounded like rocks falling down a mountain. "The Kaleri should just give us what we want." The aide, a smaller Vorthok with only 2 arms, nodded quickly. "Yes, Commander. But the Galactic Council says we must try peace first." Ravi made a sound like an angry lion. The Galactic Council was run by cowards. They made rules about not hurting other species. They said war was bad. They wanted everyone to be friends and share things. Ravi thought this was stupid. Strong beings should take what they wanted. Weak beings should give it to them, or die. This was the way of nature. This was the way of the Vorthok. Across the room, a group of crystal beings were talking in high singing voices. They were the Zephyrians. Their bodies looked like living diamonds. When light hit them, rainbows danced on the walls. They were beautiful, but Ravi knew they could cut through metal with their sharp edges. Next to them floated the Umbra. They looked like colorful clouds with eyes. They could become solid when they wanted to, but most of the time they stayed as gas. Ravi had heard they could poison the air around them if they got scared. The strangest beings were the Chitons. They looked like giant ants that walked on 2 legs. They had big compound eyes and long feelers on their heads. They spoke by clicking their teeth together. The sound always made Ravi's skin crawl. But none of these beings worried Ravi. He had fought all their kinds before. The Vorthok always won. Then the door opened, and something new walked in. It was small, maybe 5.5 feet tall. Its skin was soft and pink. It had long black hair tied back with a blue ribbon. It wore simple clothes, a white shirt and dark pants. It looked weak and fragile, like it would break if you touched it too hard. But the strangest thing was its face. It was showing its teeth. Ravi knew that showing teeth meant you were ready to fight. All species did this when they felt threatened, but this creature, this human, was not acting threatened at all. It moved slowly and calmly. Its eyes were bright and happy. It made soft humming sounds as it walked. "What is that thing?" Ravi asked his aide. "A human commander. They call themselves Deathworlders." Ravi laughed. It sounded like thunder. "That little pink thing. A Deathworlder. It looks like it would die if the wind blew too hard." But around the room, other aliens were acting strange. The Zephyrians' crystals started to glow brighter. The Umbrals pulled their gas forms tighter together. The Chitons' feelers twitched back and forth like they smelled something dangerous. The human walked to a table at the side of the room. She picked up a stack of papers and started putting them in order. She was still showing her teeth. Still making those soft humming sounds. An older human entered the room behind her. This one was bigger, maybe 6 feet tall, with gray hair. He wore a dark blue suit that looked expensive. He moved with calm confidence, like he owned the whole station. "That is Ambassador June Park," Ravi's aide whispered. "He leads the human delegation." Ravi studied the older human. This one was not showing his teeth. His face was calm and still. But something about him made Ravi feel uncomfortable. The human's eyes were too knowing, too calm. A third human came in, a woman with glasses and short hair. She carried a thick book and several writing tools. She sat down at a small desk and opened her book. She started writing notes about everything she saw. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the aide said. She studies how different species think and act. Ravi did not like being studied. He was not some lab animal. He was a warrior. He had killed enemies with his bare hands. He had conquered 3 planets for the Vorthok Empire. The young human girl finished organizing her papers. She walked over to where the diplomats were sitting. She still had that strange tooth-showing expression on her face. "Good morning, everyone," she said, in a voice like music. "My name is Hannah Kim. I will be helping with the meeting today. Can I get anyone some water or food?" Her voice was soft and gentle. She spoke the common galactic language with a strange accent that sounded almost like singing. She looked at each alien with those bright, happy eyes. The Zaphorian delegate made a sound like breaking glass. The umbral turned a dark purple color. Even the chitons stopped clicking and backed away. Only Ravi stayed where he was. He was not afraid of some small pink creature. Even if other aliens acted scared, he was Vorthok. Vorthok feared nothing. "I do not need anything from you, little creature," Ravi said. His voice was loud and mean. He wanted to show everyone that he was not afraid. Hannah looked at him with those strange bright eyes. Her tooth-showing expression got even bigger. "Of course, Commander Ravi. Please let me know if you change your mind." She knew his name. She knew who he was, but she did not act scared or respectful. She acted like he was just another being in the room, like his 4 arms and sharp teeth and battle scars meant nothing. This made Ravi angry. Ambassador Park took his seat at the main table. Dr. Tanaka kept writing in her book. Hannah went back to organizing papers and humming her soft songs. The meeting was about to begin. Aliens from dozens of worlds were here to try to stop a war. But Ravi was not thinking about war anymore. He was thinking about the strange humans and their even stranger behavior. Why did the other aliens seem so afraid? What did they know that he did not? Soon, he would find out, and when he did, everything would change. 3 days had passed since the meeting started. Nothing was working. The big round table in the center of the room was covered with maps, charts, and documents. Red lines showed where the Vorthok Empire wanted to expand. Blue lines showed the Kaleri Federation's borders. The 2 colors crossed over each other like angry scars. Commander Ravi sat in his special chair, the only one big enough for his massive body. His 4 arms were crossed over his chest. His black eyes stared at the other delegates like he was planning which one to eat first. "The mining rights to the Zeta system belong to us," Ravi said for the 10th time. His voice made the water glasses on the table shake. "We found the planets first. We should control them." The Kaleri delegate, a thin bird-like creature with blue feathers, shook her head. Her name was something that sounded like wind chimes, but the humans called her Ambassador. "Song, your ships only flew through that system," Song said in her high musical voice. "Flying through space does not make it yours. Our people have lived on those worlds for 50 years. Ravi slammed one of his fists on the table. The sound was like a gunshot. Several smaller aliens jumped in their seats. 50 years is nothing. Ravi roared. "The strong take from the weak. This is the law of nature. Your people are weak. They should give us what we want, or we will take it anyway." Ambassador Park, the older human, leaned back in his chair. He had not said much during the 3 days. He just listened and watched. Sometimes he wrote notes on a small pad of paper. Dr. Tanaka kept studying everyone with her bright eyes. She wrote in her thick book constantly. Her pen moved across the pages like it was dancing. Sometimes she would look at Commander Ravi for a long time, then write something that made her smile a little. Hannah Kim moved around the room like a gentle ghost. She brought fresh water when glasses got empty. She replaced papers when they got wrinkled. She cleaned up crumbs when someone ate the small sandwiches that station provided, and she never stopped showing her teeth. The other aliens had gotten used to her being there, but they still watched her carefully. The Zephyrian crystals would dim. When she walked past, the umbrals would shift their gas forms away from her. The chitons would stop clicking and freeze until she moved on. But Hannah acted like she did not notice. She hummed her soft songs and did her work with a happy face. On the third day, the arguments got worse. "You want everything," Ambassador Song said to Ravi. Her feathers were standing up straight, a sign that Kalari were getting very angry. "First, you wanted the Zeta system. Now you want the Alpha trade routes. Next you will want our home worlds." "Maybe we will," Ravi said with a nasty grin. "If your people cannot defend them, why should you keep them?" The Zephyrian delegate made that glass-breaking sound again. The crystals on his body turned deep red, their color for fear and anger. "This is not how peace works," the Zephyrian said. His voice sounded like bells ringing. "Peace means everyone gets something. War means everyone loses something." Ravi laughed his thunder laugh. "Only the weak lose in war. The strong win everything." Dr. Tanaka looked up from her book. "Commander Ravi," she said in a calm voice, "can you tell me about Vorthok history? How did your people become so focused on conquest?" Ravi liked this question. He puffed out his chest with pride. "We come from a world of endless war," he said. "Every day was a battle to survive. The strong lived, the weak died. This made us powerful, this made us great." "Interesting," Dr. Tanaka said. She wrote something in her book. "And how many wars has your empire fought in the last 100 years?" 73, Ravi said proudly. "We won them all." 73 wars, Dr. Tanaka repeated. She was still writing. "And how many of those were against species that could actually fight back?" Ravi's smile faded a little. He did not like that question as much. "We fight whoever stands in our way," he said. "Of course," Dr. Tanaka said. "But I noticed that the Vorthok Empire has never fought humans. Why is that?" The room got very quiet. Even the soft humming from Hannah seemed to stop for a moment. Ravi shifted in his chair. "Humans live far from our territory," he said. "There has been no reason to fight." "No reason," Dr. Tanaka said. She smiled, but it was not the same kind of smile as Hannah's. This smile was different, colder. "How interesting." Ambassador Park finally spoke. His voice was soft, but everyone could hear it clearly. Commander Ravi Park said, "What do you know about Earth?" Your homeworld. Ravi shrugged his massive shoulders. "It is a small planet, nothing special." "Nothing special," Park repeated. "Dr. Tanaka, would you like to tell the commander about our nothing special planet?" Dr. Tanaka closed her book and looked at Ravi. "Earth has gravity that is 1.3 times stronger than most life-bearing worlds. The atmosphere has high oxygen content that would be toxic to many species. Weather systems include hurricanes with winds over 200 miles per hour, tornadoes that can destroy entire cities, and lightning storms that strike the ground millions of times per day." She paused to let this sink in. "The planet has active volcanoes, earthquakes that can split the ground open, and ice ages that freeze half the surface every few thousand years. Most of the surface is covered by oceans full of predators. The land has deserts where the temperature can reach 140 degrees, and frozen areas where it drops to 70 degrees below zero." Ravi was starting to look uncomfortable. "The plant life includes species that can kill you by touch. The animal life includes creatures that hunt in packs, creatures that can crush bones with their bite, and creatures that inject deadly poison. Humans evolved alongside all of this." Dr. Tanaka opened her book again. "We call species from such worlds Deathworlders because only the most dangerous creatures can survive there." At that moment, Hannah walked over to refill the water glasses. She was still humming her gentle song, still showing her teeth in that strange, happy way. But now, when the other aliens looked at her, they saw something different. They did not see a weak, fragile creature. They saw something that had survived on a world that would kill them in minutes, Commander Ravi watched Hannah pour water into his glass. Her hands were small and soft. But he found himself wondering what those hands could do if they wanted to hurt. Instead of help, the clock on the wall showed 2 o'clock station time. The night shift was starting. Most of the minor delegates had gone to their rooms to sleep. Only the main negotiators remained. Ravi decided he was tired of all this talk. It was time to show these creatures what real power looked like. He stood up from his chair, all 8 feet of him. His 4 arms spread wide, his sharp teeth gleamed. In the light, "I am done with this talking," he said in his loudest voice. "The Vorthok Empire will take what it wants. The weak will give it to us, or they will be destroyed." He began the traditional Vorthok war display. His chest swelled up like a balloon. He beat his fists against his armor. The sound echoed through the room like drums. The other aliens cowered. Some hid behind their chairs, others backed toward the doors. But the humans did not move. Ambassador Park sat perfectly still in his chair. Dr. Tanaka kept writing in her book, and Hannah continued cleaning up the scattered papers that had fallen when Ravi started his display. She was still humming, still smiling. The clock now showed 2:01, and something in the room was about to change forever. At 2:01, Hannah walked into the main room carrying a tray of data tablets. She was humming a song her grandmother had taught her when she was little. The words were in Korean, but the tune was soft and sweet, like a lullaby. Commander Ravi was in the middle of his war display. He beat his chest with his 4 fists. The sound was like thunder. His black eyes glowed with anger. Spit flew from his mouth as he roared at the other delegates. "You will all bow to the Vorthok Empire," he shouted. "We are the strongest. We are the greatest warriors in the galaxy." The other aliens pressed themselves against the walls. The crystals had turned dark red. The umbral had made himself very small and grey. The kitten was clicking so fast it sounded like machine gun fire. But Hannah just kept walking. She moved between the chairs like she was in a peaceful garden. Her smile never changed. Her humming never stopped. She reached Commander Ravi and stood next to his chair. He was so busy with his display that he did not see her at first. She waited politely for him to finish, holding the tray of tablets. When Ravi finally noticed her, he was annoyed. This little pink creature was interrupting his moment of glory. She was supposed to be afraid, like the others. "What do you want?" he snarled. "I have the new trade agreements," Hannah said. Her voice was still soft and musical. "Would you like to look at them?" Ravi was furious. How dare this weak little thing act like nothing was happening? How dare she stand so close to him without showing fear? He knocked over her tray with one of his massive arms. The tablets scattered across the floor. Some of them cracked when they hit the metal. "I do not care about your papers," Ravi roared. "I care about showing everyone who is the master here." Hannah looked down at the broken tablets. Her smile did not change, but something flickered in her eyes. Just for a second, like lightning behind clouds. "Oh," she said quietly. "I will clean this up." She knelt down and started picking up the pieces. She was still humming her grandmother's song, but now, the other aliens were starting to notice something strange. The Zephyrian delegate was old. He had lived for 300 years. He had seen many wars and many kinds of danger. His crystals were very sensitive to changes in the air around Pangaea. Something was different. The Zephyrian looked around the room. Commander Ravi was still making noise and beating his chest. The other scared aliens were still hiding, but the humans, the humans had changed. Ambassador Park was sitting in his chair exactly like before. Same position, same calm face, but he was not moving at all. Not even breathing, it seemed. He was as still as a statue. As still as a predator watching its prey. Dr. Tanaka had stopped writing in her book. Her pen was frozen halfway across the page. She was staring at Commander Ravi, but her eyes were different now, cold, calculating, like she was solving a math problem about how many pieces she could cut him into. And Hannah, kneeling on the floor cleaning up the tablets, was moving with a strange kind of grace. Her movements were too smooth, too controlled, Like a dancer who was also a fighter, the Zephyrian's crystals started to glow brighter. This was what happened when his kind sensed danger. The Umbral delegate noticed the light from the crystals. He looked around to see what was causing the alarm. That was when he saw it too. The humans were still. Not relaxed still. Not sleeping still. Hunting still. The Umbral had been a prey animal on his home world before his species became intelligent. He knew the difference between rest and predator. Focus. Every cell in his gas body was suddenly screaming danger. He began to contract himself, smaller and smaller. The chitin ambassador felt the change in the air through her sensitive antennae. Chemical signals were different now. Fear smells were stronger, but there was something else, something sharp and metallic. Killer smell. Her compound eyes could see in many directions at once. She watched all three humans at the same time. They looked the same as before, but her instincts told her that everything had changed. She stopped clicking and froze completely still. Commander Ravi was too busy with his display to notice what was happening around him. He stood over Hannah as she cleaned up the mess. He wanted to show everyone how small and weak she was compared to him. "Look at this pathetic creature," he said loudly, crawling on the ground like a bug. "This is what happens to those who do not respect the Vorthok." Hannah kept picking up the broken pieces. Her smile was still there, but now it looked different. The other aliens could see teeth behind that smile. Small, white, sharp teeth, human teeth. Predator teeth. At 2:02, the Zephyrian delegate took a step backward. He did not think about it, his body just moved away from danger. At 2:03, the Umbral had shrunk to half his normal size. His colors had gone completely gray, the color his species turned when they expected to die. The chitin was pressed against the far wall. All 6 of her legs were ready to run. Her antennae were twitching so fast, they were almost invisible, but Commander Ravi still did not understand. He reached down with one of his big hands and grabbed Hannah's shoulder. Not gently, hard enough to hurt. "Look at me when I am talking to you, little creature," he said. Hannah looked up at him. She was still smiling, but now every alien in the room could see what that smile really was. It was not happiness. It was not friendliness. It was the smile of something that was very, very good at killing, and was choosing not to do it right now. At 2:04, the terrible understanding hit them all at once. The apex predator in the room was not the warrior with 4 arms and sharp teeth. It was the 5.5-foot tall girl, who was still smiling while someone hurt her. The Zephyrian's crystals began to sing a high, terrified note that meant run away now. The Umbral turned completely transparent, trying to become invisible. The chitin made a sound like breaking glass and pressed herself flatter against the wall. They finally understood what Deathworlder meant. It did not mean someone who lived on a dangerous planet. It meant someone who was the dangerous thing on the planet. Ambassador Park had not moved a single muscle since 2:01. He was watching Commander Ravi with the patience of something that had all the time in the world to wait for the right moment. Dr. Tanaka was still staring with those cold, calculating eyes. She looked like she was deciding which bone to break first, and Hannah just kept smiling up at the massive alien who was gripping her shoulder hard enough to bruise. "Is there something wrong?" she asked in her sweet musical voice. Commander Ravi suddenly felt very cold. For the first time in his long life as a warrior, he was looking at something, and was not sure he could kill it. The little human girl was not acting like prey. Prey animals ran or fought or begged when you hurt them. She was just smiling. Like she knew something he did not know. Like she was waiting for him to figure it out. The room was completely silent, except for the soft humming of the station's air system. Even Commander Ravi had stopped his war display. He was staring down at Hannah with growing confusion and something that might have been the beginning of fear. The clock on the wall ticked from 2:04 to 2:05. In that tiny moment, the balance of power in the entire galaxy shifted. The apex predators had stopped moving, and everyone finally knew who they were. The silence in the room was like a heavy blanket. Commander Ravi was still holding Hannah's shoulder. His big hand covered half her back. But for the first time in his life, He was not sure what to do next. Hannah looked up at him with those bright eyes. Her smile had not changed at all. She looked happy, peaceful, like being grabbed by a giant alien warrior was the most normal thing in the world. "Commander," she said in her soft voice, "you are hurting me a little bit. Could you please let go?" She was not begging, she was not crying, she was asking politely, like she was requesting more tea at a dinner party. This made Ravi even more confused. When he hurt people, they were supposed to scream or fight or run away. They were not supposed to smile and ask nicely. Dr. Tanaka closed her book with a soft snap. The sound was small, but in the quiet room it was like a gunshot. Every alien jumped except the humans. "You know," Dr. Tanaka said in a conversational tone, "I have been studying alien behavior for 15 years. I find it very interesting how different species show dominance." She stood up from her chair. Her movements were smooth and controlled, like water flowing downhill. "The Vorthok, for example," she continued, walking slowly around the table, used loud noises and physical displays, very impressive, very obvious. Commander Ravi watched her move. Something about the way she walked made his warrior instincts whisper warnings in his head. "But humans," Dr. Tanaka said, "humans evolved differently. We did not become the dominant species on Earth by being the biggest or the loudest." She stopped walking directly behind Commander Ravi. He could feel her presence like heat from a fire. Became dominant by being the most dangerous. The Zephyrian delegate made a small sound like breaking wind chimes. His crystals were now glowing so bright they hurt to look at. "Tell me, Commander," Dr. Tanaka said, "what do you know about persistence hunting?" Ravi did not answer. He was still trying to understand why the small human girl was not afraid of him. "Persistence hunting," Dr. Tanaka continued, "is when a predator follows its prey for days or weeks. The prey runs, the predator follows. The prey gets tired. The predator does not. Eventually, the prey collapses from exhaustion. Then the predator kills it." She walked back to where she could see Ravi's face. "Humans can run for 12 hours without stopping. We can walk for days without rest. We can track a single animal across hundreds of miles of wilderness. We never give up. We never stop coming." The Umbral delegate had turned completely colorless. He was trying to make himself invisible, but everyone could still see the outline of his fear. "But that is not the scariest thing about humans," Dr. Tanaka said. She sat back down in her chair. "The scariest thing is that we hunt in packs." Ambassador Park finally moved. It was just a small shift of his shoulders, but the movement sent waves of terror through the alien delegates. They had forgotten he was there. He had been so still, so quiet, that he had become invisible. Now he was visible again, and he was looking at Commander Ravi like a scientist looking at an interesting bug. "Commander Ravi," Ambassador Park said. His voice was calm and quiet. "You said that the strong should take from the weak. I find this philosophy interesting." Park leaned forward slightly. "Tell me, what makes someone strong?" Ravi finally let go of Hannah's shoulder. She went back to cleaning up the broken tablets. Like nothing had happened, still humming her grandmother's song. "Size," Ravi said. His voice was not as loud as before. "Strength, fighting skill, weapons." "Ah," Park said. "Physical attributes. Yes, those can be useful." Park stood up from his chair. He was not as big as Ravi, but when he stood, the room seemed to get smaller. But humans learned that the greatest strength is not in the body, it is in the mind, and in working together. He gestured to Dr. Tanaka. "Dr. Tanaka studies how minds work. She can predict what you will do before you do it. She knows your weaknesses better than you do." Dr. Tanaka smiled. It was not like Hannah's smile. This smile was sharp. "For example," Dr. Tanaka said, "right now you are confused because your intimidation display did not work. You are wondering if you should attack or retreat. Your heart rate has increased. Your breathing is shallow. You are experiencing doubt for the first time in years." Commander Ravi's eyes went wide. Everything she said was true. "How do you know that?" he asked. "Because I have been watching you for 3 days," Dr. Tanaka said. I know how you think. I know what makes you angry. I know what makes you afraid. She opened her book and read from it. Day 1. Subject displays standard Vorthok dominance behavior when challenged. Day 2. Subject becomes frustrated when intimidation fails to work on human subjects. Day 3. Subject escalates to physical threats. She looked up at him. You are very predictable, Commander. Ambassador Park nodded. This is what makes humans dangerous. We do not just fight with claws and teeth. We fight with knowledge. We study our enemies. We learn their patterns. We find their weaknesses. Hannah finished cleaning up the tablets. She stood up and smoothed down her clothes. There was a red mark on her shoulder where Ravi had grabbed her, but she did not seem to notice. But the most important thing, Ambassador Park continued, is that humans form emotional bonds. We do not just hunt for food or territory. We hunt to protect the things we care about. He looked at Hannah with gentle eyes. And right now, Commander Ravi, you have just hurt something that we care about. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Dr. Tanaka stood up again. This time, her movements were different. Less like water, more like a blade cutting through air. You see, Commander, she said, humans do not get angry the way other species do. We do not roar or beat our chests or show our teeth. Ambassador Park took a step toward Commander Ravi, then another. When humans get angry, Park said, we get quiet, we get still, we start planning. Dr. Tanaka took a step from the other direction. We think about the most efficient way to end the threat, she said. The way that requires the least energy. The way that sends the clearest message. They were moving slowly, but Commander Ravi suddenly felt like he was being surrounded. To humans, just two. But it felt like a whole army was closing in on him. Hannah walked over to get a new tray of tablets from the side table. She was still humming, still smiling. But now, Commander Ravi could see that smile for what it really was. It was not happiness. It was confidence. The confidence of a predator that knew exactly how dangerous it was. The thing is, Hannah said, not looking at Ravi, my grandmother taught me that song when I was little. She sang it to me when I was scared or hurt. She picked up the new tablets and arranged them neatly on the tray. She used to tell me stories about the old days on Earth, about when humans had to hunt to survive, about how we learned to be patient, about how we learned to work together. She turned around and looked at Commander Ravi with those bright, happy eyes. She told me that the most successful hunters were the ones who could smile while they waited for the perfect moment to strike. Commander Ravi felt something he had never felt before in his entire life. He felt like prey. The three humans were not touching him. They were not threatening him with weapons. They were just standing there, looking at him with calm eyes. But somehow, he knew that he was in more danger than he had ever been in any battle. The clock on the wall showed 2:15. The apex predators had revealed their true nature, and everyone in the room finally understood what it meant to be human. For 30 seconds, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The only sound was the soft humming of the air system, and Hannah's gentle song. Commander Ravi stood in the middle of the room like a giant statue. His forearms hung at his sides, his mouth was open. But no words came out. For the first time in his life, he did not know what to say. The other aliens pressed themselves against the walls. They watched the three humans like mice watching cats. Nobody wanted to move. Nobody wanted to draw attention. Then, Ambassador Park smiled. It was not like Hannah's smile. It was warm and friendly and completely normal. Like a grandfather smiling at his grandchildren. Would anyone like some coffee? He asked. I think we could all use a break. The change was instant. The terrible tension in the room melted away like ice in sunshine. Dr. Tanaka sat back down in her chair and opened her book. Hannah walked over to the coffee machine in the corner and started preparing drinks. But the aliens did not relax. They had seen what was underneath the friendly smiles. They would never forget. Commander Ravi blinked. Several times, his warrior brain was trying to understand what had just happened. One moment he had been surrounded by deadly predators. The next moment, they were offering him coffee. I do not understand, he said slowly. Ambassador Park sat back down at the table. He gestured for Ravi to sit too. What do you not understand, Commander? You could have... Ravi struggled with the words. You could have hurt me. Why did you not? Why would we hurt you? Park asked. He sounded genuinely confused. You have not actually threatened us. You grabbed Hannah's shoulder, but you let go when she asked. You knocked over some tablets, but accidents happen. But I was showing dominance. I was being aggressive. Yes, Park agreed. You were, and we showed you that aggression is not the same as strength. Now you know. The lesson is complete. Dr. Tanaka looked up from her notes. Commander, may I ask you something? Ravi nodded. He was afraid to refuse. In all your battles, in all your conquests, have you ever fought someone who was actually stronger than you? Ravi thought about this. No, he admitted. The Vorthok only fight battles we can win. Of course, Dr. Tanaka said. That is smart military strategy. But it means you have never learned the most important lesson of all. What lesson? True strength does not come from being able to hurt others, she said. True strength comes from being able to hurt others and choosing not to. Hannah brought over a tray of coffee cups. She offered one to Commander Ravi with that same bright smile. Cream and sugar, she asked sweetly. Ravi stared at the small cup in her small hands. Those same hands that he now knew could probably kill him in a dozen different ways. Yes, please, he said quietly. As Hannah prepared his coffee, Ravi watched her face. She was not angry about him grabbing her. She was not afraid of him. She was just ... kind. Genuinely kind. This confused him more than anything else. Why are you being nice to me? He asked. Hannah looked up at him with those bright eyes. Why would I not be nice to you? Because I hurt you, because I was rude, because I threatened your friends. Oh, Hannah said, stirring sugar into his coffee. Well, you did not really hurt me. You were just scared and confused. People do silly things when they are scared. I am not scared, Ravi said automatically. Hannah handed him the coffee cup. Of course not, she said gently. You are very brave. But even brave people can be confused sometimes. Ravi took the cup. It was warm in his hands. The coffee smelled good, rich and earthy. He had never had human coffee before. I still do not understand you people, he said. Ambassador Park leaned back in his chair. Commander, let me tell you a story. Long ago on Earth, humans lived in small tribes. These tribes often fought each other for food and territory. Ravi nodded. This made sense to him. But humans learned something important. Park continued. Fighting was expensive, people died, resources were wasted. So the smart tribes found a better way. What way? They learned to work together instead of fighting. They shared resources, they helped each other. They became stronger as a group than they ever could be alone. Dr. Tanaka added, the tribes that learned cooperation survived. The tribes that only knew how to fight died out. This is why humans are naturally good at working together. But you are also good at fighting, Ravi pointed out. Yes, Park agreed. We had to be. Earth is a dangerous place. But we learned that fighting should be the last choice, not the first choice. The Zephyrian delegate slowly moved away from the wall. His crystals had stopped glowing so brightly. He was still scared, but he was curious too. Humans, he said in his bell-like voice, if you are so dangerous, why do you want peace? Dr. Tanaka smiled. Because war is boring. Boring. This came from the umbral delegate, who had become partially visible again. When you are very good at something, Dr. Tanaka explained, it stops being challenging. Humans became so good at war that we got tired of it. We wanted to try something harder. What is harder than war? Asked the Khitan ambassador. Building things, Hannah said simply. Creating instead of destroying. Making friends instead of enemies. Peace is much harder than war. Ambassador Park stood up and walked to the big window that looked out into space. Stars sparkled in the darkness like diamonds. Commander Ravi, he said, Your empire has won 73 wars? Congratulations. But what have you built? What have you created? What will you leave behind besides fear and destruction? Ravi did not have an answer. Humans have been to war many times, Park continued. We have fought each other and alien species. We have conquered and been conquered. But our greatest achievements are not our victories in battle. He turned back to face the room. Our greatest achievements are the things we built together. The art we created. The problems we solved. The friends we made. The peace we chose instead of war. The room was quiet again, but this time it was a thinking quiet, not a scared quiet. Commander Ravi sipped his coffee. It was very good. He found himself wondering who had grown the beans, who had prepared them, how many people had worked together to bring this simple pleasure to a space station millions of miles from Earth. The trade agreements, he said suddenly. The ones I knocked over. What did they say? Hannah brightened. Oh, they were proposals for sharing mining rights in the Zeta system. Instead of fighting over who controls the planets, we could work together. The Vorthok have excellent mining technology. The Kalari have detailed geological surveys. Humans have efficient transportation systems. Work together, Ravi repeated slowly. Everyone gets what they need, Ambassador Song said. The Kalari delegate had been so quiet that everyone had almost forgotten she was there. No one has to die. And everyone makes more profit than they would fighting, Dr. Tanaka added. War is expensive, peace is profitable. Commander Ravi finished his coffee and set the cup down carefully. He looked around the room at all the different aliens. A few hours ago, he had seen them as either enemies or weaklings. Now, he saw something different. He saw potential allies. People who could help him build something better than an empire built on fear. I think, he said slowly, I would like to read those trade agreements. Hannah clapped her hands together happily. Wonderful. I will get you a new copy right away. As she bustled off to fetch the documents, Commander Ravi watched her go. The small human girl who had terrified him without saying a harsh word, who had shown him what real strength looked like. Ambassador Park sat back down at the table. Shall we begin again, Commander? This time as partners instead of enemies. Commander Ravi looked at the offered hand. It was small and soft, like Hannah's, but he now knew the power that rested in human gentleness. He reached out with one of his forearms and shook Park's hand. Yes, he said. Let us build something together. Outside the window, the stars continued to shine. But inside the room, something new had been born. Not through conquest or intimidation, but through understanding. Galaxy's most dangerous predators had chosen to be friends, and that choice would change everything.